I can
Hello,
see just fine.
junior scientists and regular type scientists and pretty much everyone else. That's you guys, the idiots, the dum-dums. Anyway, this is episode 2 of Question Marks, entitled, what did I call it? I don't know, something about systems, generally. General systems theory, there it is. Obviously, up above me here, I've got Jonathan Vonderhyde, back by
I'm not
popular
even
demand.
logged on yet.
Oh, you're fine. They can still see you. Eh, shit. I should probably share that on Facebook. Whatever. I'll do it in a second after we've done this. So, let's see.
Oh god, oh god.
General announcements. So this is probably going to be the last stream for like a week or two because I have exams and papers due. So, look forward to more streams in December. Um, I think that's pretty much the only announcement. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends, tell your family,
Oh yeah, there's a
tell
raffle too.
strangers. Yeah.
I don't remember how to call to action. Something about Patreon and subscribe and share. I don't fucking know. So anyway, systems. Boy, those guys, huh? So a little like I don't know, disclaimer here. I've gone really far down the systems rabbit hole in my career / life, and basically they're terrible, but also I love them, and so I'm going to do as best I can to not over dramatize or I don't know, go too deep. I forget what people were complaining about last time. The usual shit.
Were they complaining?
I can't remember who, but at least 2 people were like, it was too smart. Not the words that they used, but something along those
Well,
lines.
I couldn't respond to chat, so I was just rambling, you know?
I think that feedback was mostly after the stream because I don't really pay attention to what people do on chat. It's mostly boring anyway.
Hmm.
Anyway,
What's up, Aaron?
oh yeah, that's a thing that's probably gonna happen a lot. Normally people aren't home when I'm streaming, but here we go today. Ba 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 ba. Oh, that was a note by you. Just kidding. Okay. I organized this time, and I feel less organized than before. Probably because I'm not drunk. That was an oversight on my part. So,
You fucked. So did I.
I was talking a lot about tightly coupled systems, and I have to apologize to everyone. Really, what I meant was normal type systems, because loosely coupled systems are called that, and there is no tightly coupled as such. It is just a regular type system, unless it's a loosely coupled tightness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're talking about general systems. Most systems are loose, right? I mean, if they're tight enough to be called like a fucking object, then it's like okay.
Well, so I mean, I guess yeah. I guess that's the whole idea behind a loosely coupled system being like introduced in the first place is everyone. So not everyone, but like blah, 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 blah. I can't remember the initial systems. Was it Burton Laffy? I guess it doesn't matter. Whoever that first guy was, I bet it was like way back in fucking 500 BCE. I think I remember writing that down somewhere. Uh, Whatever. I'll look it up later. Yeah, when they were first defining it, it was basically they were talking about like mechanical systems and shit because it was the dark times. It was before the dark times even. It was the stupid times back when things were smart initially.
What
And
times are we talking about?
I don't know,
Like old systems? Or...
like classics, like the times where they did like the dynamic poses in sculptures, or maybe it was before that. I don't know. What the fuck were the Greeks up to? Because I'm pretty sure it was a
Watching
Greek
all the
guy who was all
experiments.
like, "But what if systems?" Anyway, the point of this little diatribe that I was trying to prevent myself from going on is that like way back when I was an older man, before I knew things, I was tasked with defining what a system is, and it was really fucking hard. Um, I think you can like look up online now what is a systems definition, but it doesn't quite get it all of the way. So here's what I wrote down. It is sustainable over time, which means that it doesn't just like happen and then go away. Dynamic and interactive. That one. So dynamic, maybe, but interactive, definitely. Dynamic, I think, in our modern understanding of systems theory, yeah, absolutely. Things are dynamic because they, change on the fly with in and out things, but that's like the loose coupled aspect. If they're tight, in theory, oh shit, I just noticed that my neuroreceptive molecules or neurotransmitter molecules line up when I do this. Nice. This is a tightly coupled system right here. Anyway, actually, yeah, these are not dynamic. They are connected and interactive with one another, but they're not doing anything, so they're not dynamic. But if I like move this one and then the other one moves, they're like technically that is some dynaticism. Is that where the word dynamo comes from? Anyway, maybe it's the reverse. Anyway, yes, systems are dynamic, just like the duo that we've got going on right here.
Oh yeah, super dynamic.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, right? Because well, it implies movement in space and time, the space time, right? Is dynamicism, dynamism. I hate it. I hope that's not how you actually say it. Anyway, scale. That's the third thing. Is there's a scale to it, which you then have to define. I'll explain later, but like pretty much it's systems all the way down. Oh, it was we talked about the second order stuff. Well, you did.
Mm-hmm.
I listened and took notes.
Yeah. Yeah, most of it. What is your guy, Ashby? Historically, he was one of the first to talk about how you only need like a second order evaluation of most systems.
Yeah.
Is like the system and then also like your view of the system, like incorporating the agent or the descriptor in the system. And then that's just two layers of resolution, and that's all you really need. You can go more into it and talk about his two types of feedback loops. But that's just for adaptive systems.
Hang on, I have a meme.
Yeah.
So this is Ashby, and he developed the dynamic system theory. I know you can't see it, but it's that dumb meme.
Yeah, no, I can see it now.
So here's why this is funny. He wrote about dynamic systems, and then a bunch of people were like, "Nah, dog." And then basically he spent, I don't know how many years, but several papers explaining why they were all wrong and how he was right. And then it turns out he was right. And by turns out, I mean it's a model, so whatever. It works better. It's a better model. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this is like smart guy stuff. So y'all watching, the one person watching, and hopefully hundreds more later on YouTube, I will break it down into tiny baby words for your smooth brains so that you can understand. Basically, the initial idea, just fucking read off of I don't know why I bother. The reason I wrote the outline, and it was so that I could not memorize it. Initially, the idea of a system, I don't even know if they called it a system back then, because they were probably speaking either Greek or Latin, and I'm sure that there's some like root word that they used, which probably sounds a lot like system. Actually, I think it was like Kyber or whatever, where the fucking cybernetics come from or whatever. Whatever. It's dumb. You're dumb. I'm smart. Keep listening. There was the teleological. I forget. Is it teleological? Whatever. The idea that
words, you know. Teleology.
Yeah, I know it's teleology, but teleological doesn't sound right. But it probably is. Eh,
They're words. They're words.
they mean nothing except what we let them mean.
No, their pronunciation doesn't dictate what they mean.
I think I have like readers pronunciation a lot of times because like how often, with the exception of when I'm getting yelled at by my advisor, I don't think I ever have to say these words out loud. Not until now. Anyway, there's like this whole holistic thing going on where they're like, oh, we're emergent properties, which a lot of disciplines do not like it when you say that, very specifically philosophy. If you start throwing around things like emergent and properties, then they get very upset because that's what philosophers do, and then they write like strongly worded letters in, the Cogsci Journal or whatever the fuck
Yeah,
it's
no
called.
one reads them.
Um,
Sucks.
but yeah, like I think pretty much everyone here, right, knows that term emergent properties. Um, personally, I think it's a little lazy, right? Because it's like, oh, these things come together, and there's this new thing that is more than the other things if you add them together. But it's like, it's. I mean, technically, yeah, it does emerge from the interaction, but there's like this kind of like hand wavy, I don't know,
Mhm.
connotation to it. Like, oh yeah, stuff happens, and then, a conformational change occurs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could use like less provocative words, like I don't know. You could say supervenes. Is that too much? I don't know. You could say like subsequent properties, right? They're properties like how temperature is a subsequent property of like an amalgamation of a shitload of dynamics that you don't care about. So it's like, or pressure. It's the same thing. Is it an emergent property of the elemental dynamics
I
of
mean,
these
the
atoms?
the way that people use the
Yeah,
word, like, yes.
yeah. It's like it comes from. It's not necessarily you can add them all up, right? But it's not just the sum. It's the average, which is not the sum. I mean, you can get more specific, and you get things that like you can't even break them down to finer elements, and therefore anything new like must be resultant of something more than just the sum of the parts.
I mean,
Any,
I,
yeah.
I guess well, yeah, that's just fucking lazy though, right? Because it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I see like 5 arises from 3 and 2 by putting them together, but like I think that
Mhm.
that's like the direct sort of math that people are like, yeah, it's not emergent. It actually, maybe we should just say that it arises from the interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good idea. Like if you have 2 points, right? You can only connect them with a line. Then you have 3 points. Oh shit! You added two more lines of possibility just by adding one more point. It's like, did those two more lines like emerge because they weren't there previously? You add a point, and you can't like geometrically. You have to ask yourself like, well, what are the possibilities? If you add things, you get new possibilities. You know, like the like ways of arranging objects, right? Say I have like two objects, right? Left and right, there's only like two ways to arrange them, right?
Yeah,
But if I have three objects, then now I suddenly have six ways of arranging them. So, like,
exponents.
well, factorial, yeah, but like, I don't know. Is that emergent? No, you're counting subsets, but
Okay, now, see, now that
it's not the same as two plus three,
now
or
that
it's not the
we've
same.
said emergent enough times, though,
Hmm.
like maybe
Just
because like it does emerge from things. Like here's a
yeah,
system, and it like comes out of it, and then
I don't want to lean away from the word because then that gives like the religious people power, and the mystics. It gives them power. Once you like stop using their special word, you know. But no, take the specialness out of it. Like if anyone is really interested, they can look up the difference between hard or what is it, weak and strong
yeah.
emergence. Yeah. And then like just take for granted the fact that we're only talking about weak emergence and not that mystical bullshit, you know?
Wait, now I'm confused. The fuck is hard emergence? I'm looking it up.
Or strong
Or
emergence.
whatever. I like the word hard for reasons.
I'm sure you do.
Uh, this is hard. Forgot how to spell emergence for a second. The viability of hard emergence. Oh, here's your contravening again. Whatever. It says the word physics a lot, so I stopped reading. That's your thing. uh, so anyway.
Right, causal action of high level system upon its qualities produced in this way. Irreducible, the system is situated in its parts. Yeah, if you get into physics, you start getting into like systems that are non-linear, which means the goddamn principle of superposition doesn't apply. You can't just I talked about this last time. You can't just break them down into constituents which are independent of one another. It's like
Well, yeah, I mean,
you're dividing too much, right? And once you do that, you can't just add them up and expect the system to come together.
right, and that's why I think a lot of people hate emergence. It's not
Yeah.
really that we're gaining something by adding them, it's that we're losing something by taking them apart, which is the same thing said but backwards, but the implications are different.
Right. Yeah, like emergence could be more than the sum of its parts or less than the sum of its parts, which
Well,
people don't talk about, but that's the point, is that it's different.
right. Well, I think that's so okay. When I say like lost something by taking apart, I think that because like everything exists in nature, I neither of those words I agree with, but um, these things are like already a system. They're already related. That's how they got there in the first place. Metal was made billions of years ago. It's all a thing. And then when we start looking at them, we're taking them out of context. Like literally, we've taken there's a context they exist in, and we've removed it from it. And then we're like, ah, yes, this thing only does this. And then when we add them together, we get a new property. The property was there in the first place. We broke it.
Yeah, nothing in biology works like our little monkey brains, our reductionistic brains. Like we want to think that, for instance, the human body is just like a car, right? Like it has all these different parts that you can put together, and there's very hard thresholds between like the carburetor and the fucking oil pump. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic, but the wheels and the fucking brakes. But like in all these situations, like in a car, there's very sharp lines, and you can just add these parts together, and they screw on nicely, and then they work as a unit, right? But like that, you can't do that with the human body. Every single part has like little fucking tendrils going everywhere, and so that's why you take like the human body and be like, oh, it's just the sum of the digestive and the circulatory and the neuro systems. It's like, no, it's more than that, because
Get out of here,
those aren't the
STEM.
you've already like divided too much, and yeah, so it's like you were wrong to begin with, right? That's why it seems like things are emerging, because you're dividing too much. Um, yeah,
Right. Yes.
yeah.
And this line of thought that you just followed me down, this was an emergent property of several hundred years of thinking. According to my notes, at least, I think this like properly started back in like the 15th century from this giant fucking nerd who. All right, back up for a second. So there's a reason that I am so interested in interdisciplinary theory. It's because everything is interdisciplinary, and like the system, we broke it down into too many parts, and now we're bad at all of them. Once upon a time,
Yeah.
before we made colleges, there were like no real disciplines. Like looking back at Wikipedia on things, they've all got like this guy fucking Nicholas of Cusa. Cusa? I don't know. How do you say that in German? He was like a philosophist, a theologian, a jurist, a mathematician, an astrophysicist, astronomer. I don't know I just wrote down Astro. Maybe both. I think they were the same thing back then. But he was all of those things, except he was really just some dude who did science and like thought about stuff. But then we like chopped it up because of fucking modernism, and
Right. Yeah.
everything is goddamn granular. Not that I like postmodernism very much either, but anyway, this is apparently, according to my notes at least, according to Deborah Hammond and the science of synthesis, this is where it all started in like a proper. Well, I think specifically coincidita idia
What are you trying to say?
It was the name of this dumb book. Basically, this is where we started throwing around words like emergent properties. I'm sure that they were like thrown around before, but like he's the fucking Nicholas of Cusa is the one who was like, okay, but higher orders of systems properties emerge. Oh my god, I love it. That's so fire. Was that your Halloween outfit?
No. I just have masks and props for days, I guess.
Oh, true, same, but I keep them in the garage so no one sees them. So, you're right. These emergent properties, which we have now refuted scientifically, no one can argue in any form of academia that properties are emergent now. So, yeah,
Well, so long as you get your like division right to begin with, you know.
I bet you could write a paper on that. I wonder if anyone has. I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna write a paper about that.
Yeah, it depends which way you want to look at it. Like, you assume you're correct to begin with, and then your emergent properties are bullshit, or you don't make that assumption, and then your emergent properties can be very much real, if not like more so the parts of your system than what you originally thought were the parts.
Right. Okay. So but then that's just like a unintentionally open system, or rather like an unrealized a system that includes more. A system of systems, if you will. Oh wait, I got a picture for this actually. This is what I meant earlier when I was talking about scope. Where the fuck did I put that thing? Oh, it's a PNG, so it's invisible. There we go. Earlier when I was talking about like fucking what was the word I used? Oh, well, okay, when you were talking earlier about like the second order whatever thing, abstraction? What was the word you were using? Anyway, I was talking about scope. And when you look at this, actually, now that I'm looking at it, it kind of looks like a neural net without the weights, but you can call a system like, I don't know, fucking, they'll talk about, I'll stick with the mechanistic thing because it's the easiest metaphor. If you look at a clock and you're like, this is a system, this whole thing does a thing, and inside it's got these things that are part of that system. But if you look a little closer, each of those little things are either part of a smaller system or a system themselves, which is where I get this fucking chart from. I ripped this directly out of one of my advisor's papers. And I'm pretty sure he ripped it right out of somebody else's or the internet. Maybe he drew it himself. I don't know. I can hear him in my head saying, now listen, I'm not an artist. But the basic idea, like in the example of the clock, we've got our input and our output here. The input would be like, I don't know, when you like fucking crank it up or use a battery or whatever you want to do with the clock. In my mind, clocks are made of gears, and I'm just now realizing that we have them that are not. But you have your thing coming in, and then it makes stuff happen somehow, and then the output is going to be a display of time. But we can look at that in a larger system, and we can say, like, within this system that includes, like, me and the clock, I'm a system because, you know, the fucking human body, am I right? And then I'm outputting this thing into this other system, but we are the greater system of how to tell time. And so I have put in some mechanical, and it has put out some visual, and this is all part of that one big system. And then, you know, in that scope, we've got like shit coming in, which is like the movement of linear time, which is terrible. And then like food and I don't know, the fucking bunch of other stuff that's outside of the scope of that thing, and it's all, filtering out into the greater universe because butterflies or volcanoes or hurricanes. I don't remember what the metaphor is. Which is like a lazy thing too, right? Like the whole like, oh, a butterfly flaps its wing and whatever. It's just like hand waving that there's like a system there. And honestly, I don't know if that fucking implications reach that far. That seems like a correlation rather than a causation, but like the correlation is here to here, and then we assumed stuff
Yeah,
involving butterflies in
right.
between.
Right. Well, if you want to get down to it, like the way at least I understand it, is from a probabilistic view. So like causation is the upper limit to correlation. So you never really have that full like limit value of causation. So things are just correlated more and more, right? Like, and so that makes sense in terms of the butterfly effect. Like, you could say that a hurricane is correlated with a butterfly on the other side of the world, but like that correlation is so like non-relevant, right?
Right.
It's minuscule.
Would you
So
say it's
yeah, I mean,
loosely coupled?
extremely loosely coupled. You'd be dumb to consider it part of the same system, 'cause,
Well, I
like
mean,
if
if we
this
looked
doesn't
at
have
like
any
the fucking planet as a whole system with like the sun inputting and heat outputting or whatever, you could say that that's a
right,
tiny system related loosely to another system. I don't know. There's actually,
yeah,
of all of
yeah,
the things to fucking remember, I remember Senpai was talking about like vectors or something, and how at 2 points opposite of each other on the planet, the wind is perfectly still, or something like that, or is this exact same like vector?
yeah, yeah. It's Harry Ball theorem.
I don't. It's
Yeah,
okay. I actually, yeah, I didn't remember that it was called Harry Ball, and I don't like that.
yeah,
But
Harry Ball theorem. Yeah, you can model the wind on the whole planet as like a vector field, right? Like at each point, it's going in a certain direction with a certain strength, right? So you can consider that like hairs of different lengths on the ball that is the Earth, and it's very fuzzy, right?
I'm an
And
adult.
if you try to comb it all down, there's bound to be at least one calic.
You get, yeah, like I got one of those.
Yeah,
So at
and
the
yeah,
opposite
that
point, there's another cowlick.
yeah,
Is that why I
and
have?
it depends how you fold it and how the turbulence is, but yeah, technically speaking, there should be one spot where there is no wind, um, like guaranteed. If there's wind everywhere and it's all moving, then well, then again, the calic can move around in time. So it's like there's always one spot at one point in time where there is no wind.
Well, according to the definition that I wrote down, that means that that is a dynamic system, which makes sense because it's fucking wind on a planet.
Yeah, I think dynamic is no more complicated than like changing over time. So
Well, I mean, it's exactly what it is.
yeah, yeah.
um,
Like rocks aren't very dynamic, you know?
but they, on a very long scale, they are. Because what were those rocks except molten of
Exactly. Yeah.
themselves?
Yeah.
Before that, they were space. Or I
Right.
guess, and even before that, they were a single point. Before space had space. Back when everything was
I don't
super
think.
individual organized. Is I think the
Yeah.
right word for that. Anyway.
Moving on.
Oh my god, this whole subsection that I wrote is basically just fuck emergent properties, but I think I covered it already. So, in in an attempt to like model things with systems, which is like usually how we do them, you could make the argument that like, oh, reality is actually how we think about it, but like systems are a model.
I hope
Um,
no one's making that argument.
that what?
Like reality is what we make of it, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's like that whole argument that's like basically reality is to humans how humans can perceive it, and then within there's like subdivisions, and outside of that it's like we're guessing about how other things could perceive things. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of fucking electromagnetic spectrum going around right now, and I can only see like a tiny bit of it. And then
Yeah.
like next month,
Yeah.
I'm finally getting my magnetic implant, and I can feel some of it. That'll
Yeah.
be cool. I can then like the EM range that I can sense will just be like a tiny bit larger. It'll be awesome. And I think there's actually going to be a gap between that and what I can see.
Right.
So, but the sum of
And then
those
it doesn't.
parts, am I right?
Yeah, it's the same thing you were talking about. Like you need to understand the observer in the system, right? In order to fully understand what you're talking about, or to include your own biases, right? Because that's what we're trying to do, and that's what science is. It's trying to like remove the human element, right? Like if I have a bunch of observers observing the same experiment, that rules out the differences in the observers affecting the experiment. So, like, it's yeah, it doesn't mean that everything is free for all, you know, just because I can make up a different system and I can like draw a different partition around reality means that the dynamics are different. It's
Yeah, well,
like the
yeah,
laws of physics should be the same no matter your defined system,
and
really.
yet,
Um,
how many times have
well,
we
we're just
changed them?
well, it's not like fucking Plato got it right, you know? It's a work in progress.
Isn't
Yeah.
everything? Well, I mean, it'll never be done right because the system, as we understand it, will keep changing forever. But like, this is another thing that fucking blows my mind. At some point in the universe, physics were different, like how they worked,
Yeah.
and then later on, they will be different how they worked, and that's upsetting to me.
Yeah, but we can understand those differences.
I mean, like, understand? Like, what does that mean?
Like, you mean, for instance, back in time when all the four forces were like one force, and we know that like gravity split off first, and then we know that strong split off, and then we know electroweak split. Like, like the reason we know that chronology, even though all the splitting has already happened, is because it fits the current parameters like of our universe. So if it had split a different way, if history was different, even when we had different physics, then our current would be different, right? So like you can only explain the present day from this particular chronology, if that makes sense.
So, by knowing what we know, what we don't know, by knowing
Yeah, I
it.
mean that's a hard point though, because technically it's the same physics back in the day and in the future. Um, you really have to define what you mean by physics, right? Do you mean like those operating at these energy levels here on Earth, or do you mean those operating like near the Big Bang? Because that's wildly different situation, you know, even though it might be the same underlying physics. Um,
Okay,
and just like in the future, yeah.
I mean, that's still, I guess that's really my point about the models, though, is like, because like
Hmm.
even then, if we're accepting then that like they're going to be and have been different, then that means that like right now they are becoming different still. There's not like a hard threshold. So, like
But
how could? Hmm.
like the internal parts are interacting with each other differently than they used to, right?
Right.
You could think of it as like symmetry breaking. Like it used to be one little simple fucking singularity, and then all these symmetries broke, and then you have more and more nuance, right? Like that can all be explained by one theory, but
In theory,
depending on, yeah, you can also explain like each time slice by its own separate assumptions.
it's a matter of scale.
Yeah,
These
exactly,
are all
exactly.
one system with tiny systems inside of it.
Yeah,
I made it
and you have to
relate
be
back.
careful. Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
so even in
Oh,
these,
my baby.
oh, as I see Loki back there.
Yeah, he's giving love.
um, shit. What was I gonna say? Oh, right. So even with these like already complicated systems, like we still have variable problems. I think this is very specifically what you wanted to present on. So if you wanna do,
Oh goodness.
hang on, if
Are
you
you
wanna
sure?
do the three body
Is now the
problem,
time?
yeah,
Give
you can't
me
see
a
it, but
second.
I'm giving you the Lenny face because three bodies. Oh
I
right,
think we lost our one viewer.
uh,
Rip.
that's okay.
Rip. Is it okay?
No, no,
It
there.
hurts my soul a little bit, but
The important thing is that we tried, and so no one can fault us.
I don't care. This presentation is beautiful, so
Oof.
it's hard not
Presentation's
to
kind of
enjoy it.
generous.
What do you mean?
I mean, are we really? Whoops, that's my entire face. No, thank you. Are we really presenting so much as we are present?
Oh, I see what you mean. Do you know how to like zoom in on um, the screen that I'm about to share?
Yes.
Oh, do I have to turn off my face? Hold on, I have to go full screen. We're really good at this time.
Yeah, I mean, somehow you did it seamlessly last time. What happened?
Listen, I'm not always on point.
Aren't you though?
No.
Alright, it says that you're here we go. Looks like you ripped a piece out of a notebook.
Yeah. Three body problem. Okay, so we're trying to understand basic dynamics, right? Um,
Apparently.
like, well, like when you get into systems theory, you're like, okay, basically you explain that systems are fucking circles around things, right? You're like, okay, this is a system. Look at it. Draw a circle around it. That's a system. It's got a bunch of other little circles in it too. And then the next step is like, well, how do the stuff in the circles interact? And the very basic level of that is like talking about point like objects and how do they interact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why is it so hard to have a threesome? to, for like basic intuition here, like I was talking
Whoops.
about this earlier. You can count the cardinality of the subsets of like a set of two objects, right? And there's like the left object and then the right object. Oh,
Okay,
great.
hold up. What the fuck is cardinality?
Cardinality is the number of members of a set. So okay, you have three members in this set, right?
So it's an
And then
all
you count.
male threesome. Go on.
But anyhow, like there becomes there becomes six different ways you can
Oh,
count the
this is what you were
subsets.
talking about earlier, where it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, and so like that's like a very basic intuition as to why things get complicated really quickly. Like we're gonna start with two body systems and then go to three body problem, right? And then hopefully with that intuition, you can see why it gets really complicated really quickly. Um, but first, we're gonna solve the two body problem. It's pretty fucking easy. Like I'm just skimming through the math because I know no one really cares. You put up a framework, a frame of reference, a fucking 0 point, and
Hmm.
then you got your positional vectors, and then you can find the radius between the two masses or whatever it is, and then you can find the center of mass based on the what is it called? Well, it's m1 times m2 over m1 plus m2. I forgot what it's called, but
Oh yeah, that old thing.
yeah.
How do you not remember whatever the fuck that
the
is?
it's like yeah, you know where the center of mass is. You have like a fat thing here and a skinny thing here, and it's going to be more towards the fat thing. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
But the takeaway here is that you can get this closed form solution.
Oh
It's
my god.
it's pretty simple. Okay, pretty
N-
simple.
okay.
It's just the first position, the first mass. It moves over time relative to the center of mass vector and the mass ratio. That's it. That's
All
it.
right, for the smooth brains at home. Basically, what he is saying is what that little thing in the corner is doing about how they're related. So,
Mhm.
yeah, with the center of mass thing, it's like you got a seesaw, um, and then when the fat one moves, the skinny one moves too. Um,
Mhm.
except I guess they could be the same size, and that would make more sense. And anyway, that's what he's saying. Please continue.
Yeah. I could do a better job of explaining, but
You
I don't really
literally
care.
have, but
I don't care that much.
oh my fucking god, what the hell is that?
Yeah, so if you look at this little graphic, it's 3 points now, and all of a sudden, instead of having this like smooth, like red double circle that you see in the top left, um, now you have this like very complicated trace of the trajectories here. But you do still have a common center of mass. That's the middle point that doesn't move. So like, it's solvable, right? But
Oh my
the
fucking god.
problem is that it's three coupled equations, right? Um, like you have R1 showing up within the definition of R2 and so on, right?
A
So they,
system
they
of equations.
yes, you might even say so. Yeah. um, yeah. So if you wanted to find a closed form exact solution, you'd have to be able to track them all simultaneously. But since they depend on one another, you kind of have to run numerical simulations. And here's a caveat, right? There are closed form solutions, but they're very periodic, like these guys. Um,
Oh, okay.
I hope this isn't too like mentally distracting, but
So, okay, what do you mean by closed form?
closed form just means it can be written like the solution can be written with a finite number of symbols. Um, and it doesn't count to use the summation or the integral, right? Because that's technically as infinite little parts.
Hmm.
Do I have it here? Why though? Closed
There's
form implies fixed points, right? Like all of these have very simple, like the circle one has kind of a fixed point in the middle. The figure eight has a fixed point in the middle of it, and so does the cube. I don't know about the one on the bottom right, but I'm sure it has a fixed point too near the middle. But
it looks like there's oh, that was your mouse pointer. Please continue.
mm, yeah, I mean that's what being periodic means, right? Is that it's all orbiting around a loop, right? Like a closed loop, and that's what allows them to be solved closed form. But then the problem is that you get fucking complicated things
Holy
that
shit.
they're yeah. This is an attractor, specifically Lorentz attractor. It is so it's like the trajectory in phase space, right?
The
Um,
fuck is phase space?
it's phase space is how do I explain this? Like if it was an object with mass, the phase space would be the plot of the position times its momentum. Um, so
I mean, of course I knew that, but for the people at home, that's what it means. I have
yeah, the
no
it's
analogy for you.
it's like going up one dimension, right? So instead of seeing just how this thing is moving over space, what you're doing is you're seeing how its energy changes over time based on its motion.
Okay, so
So
why does it look like two
like
black holes?
that, because it has two like centers that it orbits, essentially it prefers a generalized energy either on the left or on the right, and thus when you plot it in phase space, all the possible trajectories orbit these attractors. Um, so it's just like if you go back, it's just like the same as this. This is the trajectory in real space, right? And then
Okay.
you move up one level of abstraction, and now you have the trajectory in phase space, which is correlated with like the energy of the particle over space and time. Um, and there's a bunch of different ones, but this essentially it's like okay, we can't solve three body problems but we do know that they have generalized orbits like these. Like this is a general
Systems
property
theory,
of
yes.
any closed system, right? They're all gonna have like these harmonic solutions to them in phase space because they can't get any extra energy. They can't
The fuck does harmonic mean in this context?
like the on the bottom right, the one looks harmonic.
Okay. I mean, it does look pretty.
It does, doesn't it? It just means that it's like a an even solution over the phase volume, um, which and it's also periodic, right? Like if you know the like Jupiter's path and the planetary paths, they all have different periodicities to them.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
Oh god, it's gonna freeze.
Revolution.
Oh god. God,
I think we lost him. Okay, so while we wait for his shit to reconnect,
okay.
unless I am forgetting, periodic is like with the Jupiter thing. Like, there's a period of time that it takes to go from one to the other, and I think that is like, at least in the way that we're discussing it, like a regular period of time. Like, at least in this like closed system model within like a fairly set amount of time with a little bit of wiggle room. Oh, I heard some voice. Nope, it's gone again. Okay. So while we wait for that to happen, I mean, okay, so like the basic point that Dan is getting at here is that, well, I mean, it's the thing that was being discussed by like these fucking Nicholas of Kusa of Couscous, Nikki Couscous was talking about how when things, oh yeah, okay, we lost him. Just if I stop watching this, we'll just wait for that to reconnect. When you're looking at the systems that Couscous was talking about, they have to be fairly simple, because we, with our tiny human brains, cannot fully understand, at least at this point in time, a bunch of moving parts happening all at once. But because this shit is a model, we were actually understanding them as like a single unit so that we can know some more things at the same time as that one. You're just looking at...
Wow.
Like, oh, there you are.
No, I completely broke my computer. Trying to load like 10 GIFs at once, and that makes sense because that's what happened last time. But I can just have like voice until it comes back.
Okay.
Okay. Just give me a moment.
That thing's so frozen I can't turn off the stream for it. That's amazing. All right. Anyway, while we're still waiting on that, like real quick, there's this weird thing in biology, in evolution. I think I call it, and a lot of other people, the fucking crab cycle. Crabs keep evolving, and I personally don't know why. It just keeps happening. Evolution. Apparently, crabs are the most like the ground state of fucking life on Earth. Given enough time, everything is crab. All life begins with crab, and all life ends with crab, and everything in between is crab.
That is the best explanation of it. No one actually knows. We just know that crabs are optimal efficiency. So.
Wow. Oh, my headphones hurt.
I mean, if anyone has seen like the different
Piercings.
walking AIs, right?
Oh yeah, they
You,
always
like,
become crabs.
Yeah, they all become crabs because it's a very efficient way to move around.
I mean, it's like evolutionarily the ground state, but also like as far as movement goes, pretty close to the ground state.
Yeah.
Water spiders. Although I think there are like actual spiders that live in the water and have like diving bells of gas.
That's true, yeah.
I'm just gonna assume that we're going back to not 3 bodies because I don't know when the hell that's gonna be fixed. So you saw all those little like chaotic things that were going on, and you talked about like harmonics and periods and shit. This is like sort of, well, it is one way of describing it at least, the sort of order from chaos bullshit. Like when you've got a bunch of like crazy shit happening all at once, sometimes they happen in a way that makes some fucking sense to us. Like those little swoopy swoops around the 2 Lorenzos or whatever.
Yes.
So this is well, it's actually one of the things that systems are intended to do in the first place, is to make sense of otherwise nonsensical things. God, I just want to dive into the cogsci behind all of this, but
I know. Like really good systems, they are in harmony with their environment, right? So that's like a level 1 understanding of why like harmonics is very useful for systems. Because if you can harmonize with your environment, then as it changes, you change, and vice versa. So that's a very good way to
dynamic.
make sure you know what's going on. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's part of why like this is such like a hot fucking topic in every discipline, especially right now. Is, you know, in addition to integrating other disciplines to give like a greater understanding of shit, because I mean like it's closer to how reality works. It's a better model for it, so it makes sense that we would be like moving towards it in order to like gain a better understanding of shit, because like there we go, the stream has finally ended.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Woo, that didn't take too long. The hell was I saying? Probably should have taken my meds today. I'm just like
You were talking about how sometimes systems make sense to us.
oh yeah, well that's like the point of them. That's Booker, by the way. I think some of you know Booker. Up top, up top, up top. Nah, he doesn't want to do it right now. No, I just fed you. Go away. I love you. Get out of here. Right. Order in chaos. Oh, right. Math. That's right. That fucking Gestalt math, right? Which, if I fucking remember, the idea behind it is that 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 in as much, but there's like a greater, more fundamental thing that you can do, and you just like know all of the math suddenly because all of the properties. But like, you know, in general, math is considered pretty much like the root of all everything.
That's true.
That sounds right. I mean, fuck, even sociology uses math, so much offense to the sociologists in the crowd. Anyway, and that's like, I don't know, that line of thought leads down the like grand unification. What is it that the grand unification principle or whatever? What's the one where it's like
Grand unified theory?
yeah, sure, that one.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, that is specifically when you combine everything but gravity. And once you combine gravity, you have the theory of everything.
The theory of everything. That was the one I was grasping at. Yeah. That's kind of where systems are attempting to do, is to model everything in such good that there is no not model, and it all just works in a big old system. Oh, actually, Speaking of, hang on, I have a demo.
Nice.
My headphones are too small, short, whatever. Okay. Speaking of like grand and everything, so here's a great example of a system focus. This is a perpetual calendar, which I will be raffling off in a little bit. The idea of which, the way that we model time here on Earth, specifically like larger structures of it, is repetitious. It is not like evenly repetitious. The 365 days do not all occur always on the same like sort of order as far as days of weeks, because we divided it by 7 in a giant number that's not divisible by 7. So that was neat of us. Also, we have leap years. But these are still like cyclical. As you may have heard in like one of your fucking trite humanities courses or something. History course? I don't know. Do we still have those? The education system working right now? Anyway, so the idea behind this is that this weird model of time that we have can be like physically modeled as this kind of system, the clockworks that I keep referencing. So when we want to look at things like what's the year going to be like, or what's the calendar going to look like in, I don't know, what year should I do here? We'll do, let's see, we're in 2020 right now. Maybe we should go at, how far do I want to go into the fucking future? Let's look at how 2030 is going to look from a calendar point of view. 2030, there, okay. I've got my year locked in, 2030. Deeply fascinating. I actually find this immensely enjoyable. I'm just buy another one of these and make it again. So we've got our year locked in on our perpetual. God, I wish that fucking camera would focus. Wish is such a strong term. So we've got 2030 locked in, and it's not locking. I forget how to lock it. There's like a lever here. Anyway, when you want to look at these months, you turn it to the number of the month. So we'll say, I don't think 2030 is a leap year, but this can account for that too, because that happens with regularity. So we'll say that fucking May. How's May looking in 2033? Whoops, whatever, 2033. Because this year ring moves, it sets a predictable, modelable periodicity to how these numbers are going to fit together. And then when we move to the 5th month, it's going to move a second gear. So these are actually on top of each other, but you can think of it as 3 rings, right? And these every year, this one ring moves at a different size, and then that moves a smaller gear, which then moves a smaller gear, and it's gears all the way down because fucking the layer of abstraction, I forget what the second order thing that we were talking about earlier. I see the stream is up, but give me a second. Because these things work dynamically, or at least like interlocked. God, you can model this one as a loosely coupled system too, but
Interlocked. That's how you tell if a synesthete is lying or not.
a what?
Interlocked. It's from Blade Runner. They ask him all the time, like, you know, when they tell him to like say a bunch of words.
Oh,
One of them is like interlocked. Where are you lying? Interlocked. No, I wasn't lying. Interlocked.
huh. Yeah, on the little thing that's like staring at their pupil for whatever reason. I don't remember much of Blade Runner except that the original was amazing. I heard.
You should. You definitely should.
Will. Stream watch party. Don't tell anyone that. I'm not sure about how legal that is. For legal reasons.
Damn.
Joke. Anyway, yes. So, you can like think of this as the little spinny particles. Sorry, the little spinny particles they're a regular harmonic period to these. So in 2033, it looks like that would be the same lineup. Oh, actually, we'll just look at January. That's gonna make more brain sense to me. Where's the number 1? Where is the number 1?
It's at the beginning. It's the number line.
But it's a circle. There is no beginning.
It's near the origin.
But it's a circle.
Well, it's at the bottom.
Okay, so this is too complicated for my dumb baby brain, but the
It's next to 2 and next to 0.
stop it. The oh, there's two 2020s. That's right. Because there's like the leap year version and then the not leap year version. So that's kind of the hiccup in this. Because they are actual circles, you can't have like any real unevenness to them. So when you've got like a leap year, that's only going to be a problem on February, and the rest of it can be modeled like normally. So in order to like account for that, there are these unevenly spaced leap year bumps. You can only turn to the 2020 for February because this was a leap year, right? Dude, this year started like 13 years ago, so I don't even fucking remember anymore. Whatever. Anyway, this thing's cool. I'm gonna auction it off to one of the patrons. You want to continue with your presentation?
It might explode, so I don't know if I should.
Okay, well then don't. That's fine.
Yeah, that was the second to last slide anyway. The last slide was just like a summary of what the hell I was talking about.
All right, so I'll just skip right to the Ashby meme. As I said, there's like a movement in space and time in dynamic systems, which means that like if the system works like this circle normally, that's a snapshot in time of that, and moving forward, that system will change either because we've modeled it with the outside influencing it through new things, or because we've modeled it large enough to be able to like encompass there's always an outside system. I think even when it comes to like the fucking universe, like there's still some outside to that system. Think about that in your fucking philosophy courses. There physics too, I guess. I don't know. Do you guys model the system of the universe as closed?
Typically, the universe is closed. That's why we have conservation of energy. But then once you add in like dark energy, it doesn't stay constant anymore.
I did not really hear you at all, but I think you said something about yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Am I too quiet?
I see you've changed faceware again. Very sharp. Like the little blinders on the side. I wonder if I could turn you up. Wait, I think I literally can. Boom. There we go. Say
Yeah,
stuff?
usually.
Holy
Usually
shit, that
the.
was turned you up too much.
Am I loud now?
I turned you up way too much, but yes, I can hear you again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, usually in physics, the universe is the system, right? You can add in the multiverse if you want, or like different epochs if you want, but
But should I?
most of the time you need to relax and not do that. Like,
And that kind of goes back to the whole point of the systems is just like chill out.
yeah, just focus on what's useful. There's always an outer system. There's always inner parts that you're probably missing.
But anyway, yes, that's why dynamic systems theory is like real good, is because you don't really need to model everything outside of it. You just pick the scope that you need to care about and then see how that changes and with what regularity, and then you can kind of go from there. This is usually not used in things where you have to make like very precise predictions. These are like Cognition is a good thing to use for modeling it because you can at least tell, like, with some certainty or enough of it to, like, give a shit about how things are probably going to happen and not, like, very specifically, this happened and so all people will be thinking or doing this thing. Don't worry about it is basically like the theme of dynamic systems, but also like very specifically, don't fucking worry about it. Right, yeah. I mean, that's kind of it. I don't know what else to say about them. Is their models? There's like they have a cool origin story where they came from and like what they Pokemon evolved into, which is now like dynamics and the loosely coupled, like we touched on last time. I don't think loosely coupled really deserves a whole hour to talk about, but the difference in this and loosely coupled systems is really just kind of the same thing between general and dynamical systems, is that loosely coupled systems, you have something happening a step or two away from two parts in a system. So when you look at them, they're like kind of loosely related, like butterflies and hurricanes. I think I'm actually finally going to do it. I think I will do an episode on cognition. uh, Also, like I've mentioned several times, these obviously have use in physics as these models, but like very particularly engineering fucking loves systems. Computer engineering, even more like specifically. If you're talking about like a systems engineer, it not necessarily, but almost always you're talking about literally like a computer system engineer. And computer systems, there's a lot of other ones, can be modeled with cybernetic system theory, which is dynamic but also self-regulating and thus not really like a thus as in like a QED sort of thus, but like almost always self-organizing. I mean, when we're talking about like systems that we didn't like teleologically set up, ones that we've observed and modeled as such, yeah, a lot of them are like fucking self-organizing. I don't know. That's pretty much all I have to say on systems. They're really fucking interesting. Y'all should check out like more information on them. Science of Synthesis, not a paid advert. Really good book though. Deborah Hammond wrote it. It breaks down like systems in a more intelligent but also more descriptive way than I have. A little less descriptive and intelligent than Jonathan, but like that's kind of his thing. So I don't know what to tell you there. Oh god, that's right. I gotta do the patron shout out before I raffle. Hang on. The fuck are my patrons' name? I know Chance is like our junior scientist. Um, from memory, I don't think I can do it. I think I can.
Like show their levels each time.
What?
People are like, yo, why are you gonna shout out the fact that I'm just a pleb subscriber instead of like a super subscriber, you know?
Bruh,
Right.
you're not even a subscriber, so don't worry about it.
I'll sub, bro.
Nice, you do whatever. I mean, yeah, I would appreciate the money,
Your
of course,
fucking
but
calendar. I'm just gonna have to visit tonight, so.
anyway, so yes, junior scientist Chance Morgan. I don't just just so we know, I am appreciative of all of them, which is why you're all entered into a raffle, but some are more entered than others. So yes, Chance, our junior scientist. I got oh god, I have like 4. How do I count? It's 4 lab partners now. I got Andrea, who dropped in the chat briefly and told me the things I was trying to think of with Nicholas of Couscous. We've got Jensen. Jensen dipped on in. Maybe Jensen will win tonight. Who knows? He seems like he has pretty bad luck though. So we've got Zenshi. Zenshi's a subscriber. That's cool. Haven't seen her in a while. And of course Jane, who provides like anything that you see like designed on this stream. That was Jane's fault. Or credit to her for that. I don't know how you. It's usually good stuff, so we'll just go with credit. And of course, we have my absentee co-host, Rin. She's our head of research, and as always, Donna puts way too much money into me. Super grateful. Statistically speaking, Donna's gonna win this tonight. Well, let's find out, shall we? Who is it? Pink ball. It's Donna. Imagine that. All right, Donna. I will ship you this thing, or potentially I'll give it to your sister and have them do it. I don't know. I'll figure it out. You'll get it though, in much less time than you got your screen printed shirt. That took me fucking forever. Actually, I tried to mail it like 3 times and it kept coming back until I realized that I had put the zip code on wrong, which is weird because I've sent you stuff before. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. Don't forget that like in 2 weeks from now there is not a stream because I will be working on a research paper, and then but that puts us into December. So yeah, look forward to the next stream in December. I might actually do 2 that week because I should be out of class, and fuck it, why not? Okay. Bye.